Do you feel like you're being paid what you're worth? Well, today we're going to talk about what to do if you feel like you're being underpaid. So today we're going to talk about what to do when you are being underpaid. That's probably a common feeling that people have in our society today. In fact, there's very few of us that probably feel like we are overpaid. So sometimes we may feel like we are paid what we're worth, but more often than not, people tend to believe that they're being underpaid. Well, what if I said to you that it's impossible to be underpaid? Would you agree or disagree? And again, remember that whether you agree or disagree, that's a belief. And we tend to believe that our beliefs are true and correct. If you believe that it's impossible to be underpaid, then I want you to consider what we're going to talk about today. One of the principles that we talk about, and again, a principle is a law or a truth that exists whether we believe it, whether we know about it or understand it. And one of those principles is the principle of control. Another is the principle of choice. So think about this. If I am working at a job where I am being underpaid, the question is, why am I working at that job? If I believe that I am worth more than I am being paid, then why don't I go out and either get a job earning what I believe that I am worth, or why don't I go create my own business or create a product or a service in which I can earn and receive what I believe that I'm worth? So let me explain this a little bit more. Let's say that you're working in a job and you're being paid $15 an hour. So I would ask you, how much is your time worth? Now you may say, well, I think I'm worth $25 an hour, or I'm worth $50 an hour, or I'm worth $100 an hour. Is that true? Do you really believe that? Now, I'll ask a second question, which is, how much do you think your employer feels that your time is worth? So he's paying you $15 an hour. Does he think that your time is worth $15 an hour? Well, the answer to that is no. So I may have said a couple of things that have got you thinking a little bit. How much is your time really worth to you if you're working in a job where you're getting paid $15 an hour? The truth is, your time to you is worth less than $15 an hour. And the reason that we know that it's worth less than $15 an hour is because you are willing to trade an hour of your time for $15. If you really didn't believe that, then you wouldn't accept that job of being paid $15 an hour. Now I'll go to the other question of how much is your time worth to your employer? Well, your time is worth more than $15 an hour, because he's willing to exchange his $15 for an hour of your time. So when we're in that place where we feel like we're being underpaid, where our employer doesn't value our time, our talents, our services, the truth is our employer values us and our time more than we value it ourselves, because he or she is willing to exchange the $15 for our time. We're willing to exchange our time for the $15, so we value it less than $15. Well, what's the solution then? I either accept that $15 an hour is a pretty good deal because I don't know how to earn $15 an hour otherwise. My employer is willing to give me $15 for an hour of my time. I could then change from feeling like I'm being taken advantage of, I'm not being paid, to where I might move to a place of gratitude. And it may be that once I shift my attitude about that, I may become an even better employee. And the result of that, I may end up with a raise because I begin to produce more value for my employer. The other thing that I could do, if I really struggle with that belief that I think that I'm worth more than $15 an hour is I can begin to think up here and say, well, why am I not earning more than $15 an hour? If I stay in that victim mindset of scarcity, the reason that I'm only earning $15 an hour is because my employer doesn't value me. He's taking advantage of me. So now I'm blaming and putting the responsibility or the cause of the problem out here instead of in here. So I could begin to ask myself better questions of, why am I accepting a job that pays $15 an hour? And the answer may be, well, that's the only job that was available. Then whose problem is that? Is that my employer's problem for not paying me enough, or is that my problem? And I could say, okay, well, if there are no jobs around here that pay more than that, but I want to earn more money, then what could I do to bring more money into my own life? And part of that may be gaining an understanding that money doesn't really exist. So if I'm trying to achieve or to gain something or bring something into my life that doesn't exist, am I ever going to be successful in doing that? So if money doesn't exist, well, what is money? Well, money is a concept or an idea. It's a representation of value or value that's been created. So the reason that an employer is willing to pay an employee $15 an hour is because the employer has created a business where there is a product or a service that other people value, and they're willing to exchange some of their dollars for that value or that product or service. If the customers no longer value that product or service, they're going to stop exchanging their dollars for that product or service. So if I want to have more dollars in my life, I need to figure out not how to get more dollars, I need to figure out how to create more value. And I can either become a better employee and create more value for my employer and the company that I work for, to where they create more value out in the world, more and more people appreciate that value. And the way that we show our appreciation for value in the world in which we live is through the exchange of dollars. So more and more people are willing to pay dollars for that product or service. The result is we have more dollars. That's one way. The other way is to begin to think for myself of, well, maybe I could start a business of my own where I could pay myself more money than my employer is able to pay me. Or I could come up with a product or an idea or a service that other people are willing to exchange. So that's about figuring out what my sole purpose is. And we have another video that talks about soul purpose, but that's me using my unique strengths, talents, and abilities and using them to create value out in the world for other people who will exchange that product or service for the dollars that they have. So hopefully that's helped you look at it a little bit differently. If you're in a situation where you feel like you are not being paid what you are worth, or that you're not being valued, and to really know and understand that your employer actually values your time and your talents more than you value them yourself. And if you want to make more money, if you want to create a raise for yourself, then begin to think about how you can create more value in the world, whether that's for your employer or going out and creating a new product or service that will benefit other people in your community or even in the world. Thanks for joining us again today. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Subscribe to our channel and visit our website, and we'll see you again tomorrow.